Welcome to the Memories of a Moonbird podcast, exploring life one story at a time. Hello, friends, and thanks for tuning in to the Memories of a Moonbird podcast. I'm Daniel Sherrill. Today on the show, I don't know if he can actually get any more interesting. He grew up a Catholic Arab Israeli in Nazareth, Israel, and after emigrating to America, began working behind the scenes in Hollywood as a cameraman and steadicam operator. Over the last 20 years, he's worked on big-budget shows like Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a litany of cool music videos, commercials for big brands, and films. And no matter what project he's involved with, he always has this alien-looking device attached to his body called a steadicam. It can weigh as much as 40 pounds and costs upwards of $100,000, all to keep the visuals that we love interesting, moving, and smooth. And while all of that is really cool, outside of the film industry, he's not just a devoted husband and proud dad of 3 adorable kids, but he's spent the last several years of his life on his own unique travels inward. He teaches a class on cleansing through the power of breath and sound vibration, and he's in the studio with a didgeridoo to prove it. Today I'm going to talk with him not just about traveling around the world, but traveling within ourselves. Please welcome my friend, the super cool Wael Shukha.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for coming in. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. This is such an honor. This is my first podcast.
I am truly honored.
And I couldn't be happier to have a first podcast such as you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know the listeners heard it in the intro, but why don't you tell them a little more about where you're from?
Oh, yeah. There's that story. Originally, I'm from Nazareth, Israel. Moved to the U.S. in 97 and went to school. And I've been here now longer than I've been over there. So this is now home.
What age were you when you came over and what brought you guys over?
I moved here when I was 23 and brought me film school just because of my love for cinema, love for movies. Grew up on watching American TV. So I wanted to migrate to that dream.
That's very cool. What was it like growing up in Nazareth?
In comparison to here, different. Culturally different. Geographically mountainy. There is a lot of people that live in that town, and it is getting very congested. Growing up there for me was interesting because it had many layers. In terms of culture, we had the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews kind of living in an area. And there's a lot of religious clashes, psychological as well as physical.
And were you exposed to this yourself growing up?
Yeah, you live that. This is your life. You see that. It's normal. There's hate, going to school. The kids called this bread the Jewish bread. And one of the kids saw a piece of Jewish bread on the floor. In a Muslim culture, you pick up food off the floor. And, because it's a blessing, you can't just leave it on the floor. But the kid saw this bread that they called the Jewish bread. And he says, I'm not picking that up because that's Jewish bread. So that's the kind of culture, that teaches hate. Not all, of course, but that's the motivating force.
To clarify, You grew up what culture and religion?
I grew up as a Catholic, Arab, Israeli.
So, I mean, you're an Arab who's Catholic.
Yes.
In Nazareth, was that commonplace, or were you kind of the odd man out? Were most people Muslim or other Arab cultures?
It depends where you are. I mean, obviously, if you're in Nazareth, you're just one of the guys, one of the people. But going to college there, I went to it's an area called Kiryat Shmone. I don't know. I never felt. Honestly, I never felt racism, if you will. I don't know whether it was because I was oblivious to it because I chose to, or whether maybe it didn't happen to me because I don't look, maybe because I look nice. I don't know.
You do look nice.
Thank you.
For the audience, he looks very nice. So you grew up in Nazareth, which is an extremely Nazareth is a very religiously significant city.
Very true.
Your spiritual beliefs founded in Catholicism.
Yes.
What was that like?
Going to a Catholic school was, obviously at the time, this is your life. You don't have anything to compare it with, so it's normal. It had a priest for a principal, and he would walk around with a stick, and that would be part of part of the fear that it was kind of laid down in a school like that, because he would hit the kids, give them not lashes, but with the ruler, on the palm.
The hands.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a friend who went to Catholic school here in America, and the person the priest or whatnot who ran the place used to be a drummer. And so he would actually carry around drumsticks, and he would do the same thing. But if the kids were really bad, he said he had to once kneel on the drumsticks while holding 2 dictionaries in the air. And he said, you have no idea the pain of kneeling on drumsticks. It
looks like a classical painting right there. Yeah.
You're 23 and you decide I want to go to LA and work in the film
I
business.
applied to a lot of colleges. I just applied for all film schools, and I had done already school in Israel. I went to college as well, and I don't know, there was too many layers to wanting to do this. The main one was to kind of explore, travel, go out. And my dad's workplace, he had a huge map on the wall, and I just would sit there and stare at it for hours. Wondering how it would be like to travel the world,
Now, did you get to travel as a kid around the area, like to Greece or Europe?
My parents traveled quite a bit with us kids, so I did have that bug already installed in me, from childhood. Spain, Greece.
What was one of your favorite places you went as a kid?
As a kid, of course, Disneyland, it's just hands down. There was...
Wait, Disneyland where?
California.
So you came to California?
I was here. I was here when I was a kid.
What age?
I want to say anywhere between 6 and 8.
So you already came to America once, and then as for vacation, was that the only time?
Yeah, that was the only time, and that also had a big effect of me wanting to come back.
So you apply to colleges, you get accepted in California, and you come here for school. Now, how long did it take before you met your wife, and then eventually got married and all that stuff?
It was about 4 years. We after college, which was film school, we decided to get married. At the time, we didn't tell anybody because we maybe thought we'll just do it for the papers. And
I might not air that portion.
That's I don't think it matters, does it?
So I don't know. Trump's administration, immigration is going to come after you. Get this fucking illegal out of here.
It's been 20 years. All right. So
you met your wife after in film school. You guys got married, and you've been here ever since, correct?
Yes.
Growing up, now you've traveled a bit as a kid. You said you got the travel bug when you were young, and you've seen how many different places do you think you traveled before?
Being a kid, since childhood, I don't know. I would say about 9, 8.
That's very cool.
That is, yeah, and it definitely left some. It's just there's something about traveling as a child, as a kid. Seeing different experiences, smelling different food.
Oh yeah.
Just feeling different cultures, as you speak to others.
I think it opens the mind quite a bit.
It sure does.
And it makes you aware that there's more to the world than just your small corner of it, which is one of the main reasons I encourage people to travel, because they get stuck. I often say the same thing, that I actually know someone who's lived in the same town for like 40 years. They've never taken a plane ride, never been out of their city. And it's unfortunate because you can see in the manner in which they live that it's a very closed experience, which I'm not poo-pooing it, but I just think there's a better way. The level of understanding you gain in traveling and experiencing the world is invaluable, in my opinion.
Yeah. And also remembering that we all have our different paths.
Yes. And I try to respect that process. I just encourage and nudge.
little nudges. Hey.
So when you went to film school, did you go into it knowing you wanted to work in camera?
Yeah, the aim was always towards camera, just the visuals.
Did you have a camera growing up that you?
It was I think it was a small tip VHS. Me and my buddy would film movies together, of course, the classic.
Yeah.
Should pull those out now that I think about it. They were just silly.
Yeah, of course.
Acting,
I have those
whatever.
too,
Yeah. And yeah, that's I always wanted to do horror.
I'd like to tell you that when I was like 8 years old, I made a little movie that's just ridiculous with Star Wars action figures in the basement of my mom's house.
Nice.
But the fact is I was 23 when I did that. So, but so now you was there a particular experience with cameras or with visual storytelling that compelled you to become a cameraman?
Yeah, absolutely, and no doubt. E.T. was my movie that kind of just, it made me cry. A movie that made me cry. It was, I'm sitting on my parents' bed watching it in their bedroom, and spoiler, here comes, E.T. is dead, and Elliot is over the grave, and he's yelling and screaming that he's dead, and I'm crying, and then his heart glows, E.T.'s heart glows, and I'm in this like explosion of happiness, because it went from like way down there to way up there. So this display in emotion, and so I wanted to be part of that magic.
The magic of storytelling, essentially. Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I loved E.T. as a kid. Actually, it was one of my favorite movies growing up, and made me kind of fall in love with Spielberg's storytelling. There is something very, whether people are critical of it or not, they say, "Oh, that's very Spielberg."
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine, your last name is the adjective they use to describe this type of filmmaking? That is an accomplishment, So that's incredible.
That's when it becomes a masterpiece.
Yeah. How long after film school did you get your first job in the industry?
It wasn't too long after college. Maybe I'd say 4 months or 5 months. I PA'd on a feature, on a low budget feature.
And back then there was no internet or mobile phones and whatnot. How did you find these jobs?
My cousin, of course, right? Because somebody that knows somebody,
That's great.
Yes, my cousin hooked me up with, my cousin Lara hooked me up with assistant director, who in turn had me working on this low budget movie as a production assistant. And there I met a lighting department, and I worked on some free jobs with them. And after that on some music videos, and eventually
paying your proverbial dues,
as we all have to do it in this industry, most of us at least. From there, I moved into becoming a union lighting electrician, and 10 years in, I also became a cameraman, camera operator, a steadicam operator.
Now, did you start on steadicam from the beginning?
From the beginning, yes, of the transition to be a camera operator, which didn't happen till the last 10 years.
Now, is there a separate set of training that's involved to operate a steadicam rig?
Yes, of course. It is like, has been described once by one of the steadicam operators as a lady that you want to dance with, and she doesn't want to dance with you. It is this mechanics that kind of float around, and you have to kind of know how to dance with it.
Now, when you have the full rig, let's say you're running an Arri Alexa, very expensive, fancy camera for those who don't know, and used a lot in cinema today. But you have a full Arri, or Arri, however you want to pronounce it, Alexa rig with all the bells and whistles, and that's running what, 40 pounds, something like that?
So it could run up to 40 pounds, yeah, with all the additions.
And then the rig itself weighs, is it
also about 10, 12, 15 pounds, yeah.
So you're carrying this thing, but it's weighted specifically so that it doesn't like tear on your back or hurt you. It's designed for your body to kind of manage the weight.
Yes.
But now you've got this alien arm sticking out from you where the camera's mounted so that the footage stays steady and beautiful.
Correct.
And it can move all different directions and stuff.
Yes.
So how difficult is it to do?
It takes skill, it takes practice. And just like anything, the more you practice, the better you get. And this is definitely is in that realm of just practicing.
What's one of the most challenging things you've had to do as a Steadicam op?
There wasn't particularly a moment, except that many long hours. It's the hours that kind of gets to be challenging.
On average, is it a 10-hour, 12-hour day?
12-hour day.
12-hour day.
That's the norm.
And then it can go as long as how?
14, 15, 16 on crazy shoots, yeah.
Now, I had a boss at a former job that said, an old quote, your brain will only endure what your butt can take. So is it true that, 14th, 15th hour, are you still delivering a top level game, or is it kind of?
Yeah, you have to perform. I mean, it's do or die.
So have you been able to travel as a cameraman to different jobs?
Not as much as I would like to. Only for a while I traveled before kids. Only recently, now I went on a feature for in Tennessee for 6 weeks.
That's great.
It was a fantastic experience. Yeah.
Now, when you're there and you're traveling for work, do you get a little bit of downtime to go explore the places
of course, yeah. On the weekends, the Sundays, you can go out. For the most part, we're tired and just want to do laundry and sleep. But there's a lot of times where, of course, you go explore since you're there.
So what do you think is the hardest part of your particular career?
The chase. I believe that's the most frustrating part. Is just the next job or no, just making sure that you're, because there's no long-term projects. Most of the projects run anywhere between one day to, if it's a TV series and you're on it, then it's a season, and then you don't know if you're coming back or not. So there's always that, when are we going to get the next thing,
So being from overseas, have you ever encountered cultural differences in your job that you've had to deal with in a certain way?
Not really, no. I mean, language in the beginning was a tiny challenge, but...
Well, did you grow up speaking English or no?
No, I grew up speaking Arabic and Hebrew as the language. And then English was taught at school from 3rd grade.
So when did you become fluent in English? Because you're pretty fluent now, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see. TV. I watched a lot of TV growing up. That was the main reason why I spoke such good English. I speak English good. I was watching the Three's Company, the A-Team, Knight Rider, all these shows.
All great shows.
Oh, so good. There's a few shows that you didn't get here because it was only sold overseas. It's called Manimal.
Manimal?
Yeah.
I don't know it.
You got to check that guy out.
What's
Manimal it's about a man who can turn into an animal, any animal. You just have to think it, and he's a snake or
he's a polymorpher.
A polymorpher.
Yeah,
AKA,
that's cool.
Yeah, AKA Manimal.
Manimal. Do you hear that, everyone? Manimal. 1980s, I'm guessing?
Yeah, definitely.
That
80s.
sounds like an 80s show. Can you imagine the boardroom meetings for some of these things, though? All right, so he's a guy who can turn into any animal. We'll throw it on after different strokes.
You got to check out the makeup on it, too. You'll get a kick out of that.
That's awesome.
When he turns into the animal.
No cultural differences. That's great.
Well, just slang, I had a guy ask me to get some juice for the dolly on set. And I went looking for a bottle of some sort of juice, but he meant get me some electricity to plug into the dolly. And I didn't know what juice meant. I didn't know that it meant also, electricity. Really, yeah.
So, father of 3, have you been able to travel with your kids?
I have. We've traveled a few, and it's definitely not an easy experience. It's
because they're young right now.
They're young, yeah. I believe it'll get easier as they grow older. But we traveled to Israel several times, and it's a long trip. And with the kids and the airplane, and then over there, you have the language difference. They don't speak Arabic. I haven't taught them Arabic, so they don't. Most people there speak English.
Is it difficult for them because they don't speak Arabic or Hebrew? And
yes, I mean it's a cultural difference, and yes, definitely the language barrier.
When you get upset, do you find yourself reverting back to like
Arabic? Definitely that and counting. I do counting in Arabic. It's just a go-to. I don't know why.
Well, how do you do 1 to 10 in Arabic?
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10.
Wow, I can do it in Russian, but
do it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, see, now I'm gonna get busted because I can't remember the rest. There you go. That's about as far as I can go.
How's your Hebrew counting?
Non-existent.
Oh, well, okay. All right.
I don't speak Hebrew, actually. I can say, thank you and shalom.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. You're already halfway.
Excuse me, sir. Can you buy me a falafel?
Excuse me, sir. Can you buy me a falafel?
Man, the best falafel I have ever had has been in Jerusalem, by the way.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear where my best falafel is?
Sure.
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Get out of town for real.
Kidding, yeah. There's a place there in the square that is superb taste.
What's it called? Do you remember?
I will look it up. Wait, falafel plate, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Falafel plate. It's the only one in the main square.
So it's not like a shopping mall. It's in actual like a strip mall.
Yeah, it's a nice old town, Knoxville. Yeah. It's we had it twice there in a period of 2 days because it was so good.
Well, you would think when you throw out the word cheeseburger, people generally think of the Midwest because it's the land of beef, but the best burger I've ever had is in New Orleans.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. What was the best pizza you had? So
pizza is a separate thing to me because it's one of my all-time favorite foods. Most often, it's very much attached to the memory of where I ate that piece of pizza. So I have some very specific experiences. There was one night that Jolene and I ate some pizza. We had just gotten over being very sick, and we were in London, and we were in this hotel, and we're watching the BBC's Merlin, and we're eating this pizza we ordered randomly from someplace. And it wasn't even that the pizza was that great, but the memory of sitting in bed with the person you love in London, and you're watching BBC and you're eating pizza at like 9:00 at night. And that's a very special,
Yeah, you see, it's back to the story. It's always about the story.
Yeah. So even when I retell the story now, I can taste the pizza in my mind, which is good. Yeah. I'm a pizza snob. I'll be honest. Like, I don't like cheap, crappy pizza. So I like generally the small, round, wood-fired dough that has to have the perfect balance of a little bit of crunch on the outside of the dough, but the inside has to be soft and squishy. Thin to medium.
Okay, well, I got a place for you. We'll go in Pasadena. We'll take you out there.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. I'm holding you to that.
Of course. My favorite pizza is the one in New York. It's called Artichoke Pizza, and that was 10 years ago. I had it. I was like having an orgasm while I was eating it. Now, I don't know. It was because I was having an orgasm.
I want that pizza. I think everyone wants that pizza. So I'm going to bring it back to travel a little bit. Where are some of your favorite places you've traveled in the world, and why?
Some of the favorite places is Greece, Mykonos. That was an exceptional experience. Argentina, and that was amazing time there. And then Tulum, such a delicious place. Wouldn't mind going back, although I heard it was a little bigger now, which is normal. But in Tulum, they have these cenotes, underwater caves, and there's hundreds of them all over, and they connect underground. And there's bigger tours where a guide takes you, and you follow the guide through the cave. And
is this scuba diving, or is this?
It could be both scuba diving or snorkeling. We chose snorkeling. You just wear a vest and you just float on top. You can see all the way down to the bottom without snorkeling. It's clear, beautiful, clean, filtered, naturally filtered water.
It's amazing.
And the colors are just amazing. The blue, turquoise, heavenly.
If you were going to recommend one place above all else that you think everyone in the world should try to visit some point in their life, where do you think that would be?
Jerusalem.
Why is that?
I feel like there's a lot of history there that connects with a lot of people. You got the three major religions, and amongst that there's also like sects within those, and there's the ancient religions that are secret religions, the underground, and there's a lot of history there that belongs to all of us. And there's a difference between reading the history and living it by being there and just feeling the stones, just touching that stone.
That's 5,000 years old.
Yeah, it's a good city.
Do you miss Israel?
Not really. I missed certain things, certain people, but I don't really desire to kind of go back and live there or be there.
I like to ask people how they get acquainted with a new place. So for me, I go out for a meal, or I talk to people. I go to a museum. Jolene loves to go for a run. What's your thing?
I like to drink and meet people at the bar.
That's great.
That could happen.
What's your drink of choice?
I think, I'll go for a beer, but it's more about being there than it is about the drinking.
Well, since you brought it up, one of my favorite questions to ask people is, let's say you have a chance to sit down at a table, a private table in an old-timey tavern with anyone from history that you'd love to talk to. And you're sitting there with this person, whoever it is. What would be your drink of choice in that moment?
That is such a tricky question. You're just full of tricky questions.
Oh, there's more coming. Don't worry.
It's so strange. Entity or human?
Any human from history, alive or dead.
I'd go for Jesus.
Okay, so now you're sitting across from Jesus from your hometown.
That's right.
You're like, what's up, homeboy?
Shout out. Ouch out.
So now you and Jesus of Nazareth are sitting across the table from each other. And would you have a drink with him?
Absolutely. Wine, for sure. We'll just order water and then he'll turn it into wine, and that's the wine we'll drink.
That is one of the best answers I've heard. That is cool. That is a very cool answer.
How long do you have with that person, do you think?
Let's say a good hour.
That's a healthy hour.
Maybe 4. I like the number 4. We'll just say 4 hours.
That's great. I like that number.
Can you imagine the questions you could ask Jesus in 4 hours?
Yeah. I try not to talk as much as possible, just to kind of make a quick question so I can just listen.
What is your favorite thing about traveling?
Most of it is interacting with people, just meeting new people. I find that to be fascinating. Just an airplane talk. That's why I enjoyed riding the airplane back in the day before the monitors were all over the planes and you didn't watch movies. Maybe there was one screen that came down. I remember the days of smoking in an airplane.
Oh, yeah, we talk about that a lot. I hated it, actually, because they're like, well, smoking reserved to the back. You're in a
Right.
tube, dude.
We're sitting in the same freaking capsule, man.
Yeah. It's like we're all inside of a giant Tylenol flying through the air. And smoke's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's going to recycle. My first flight coming here, there was an English feller, and he was going to Burning Man. This is 1997. I missed my bus on that one. I was just moving here, and he's next to me, and so we're just talking. He was telling me about Burning Man and how I should come and go do it. But I just got here. I was just already like in a culture shock in a sort way, and I just wanted to concentrate on what I was doing. But darn it, I could have been one of the cool ones in the early years.
Did you go to Burning Man?
I have not done Burning Man.
Why is that?
I don't know. The desire is not strong to do. There's no particular reason. Maybe because I heard that it's becoming more
Commercialized.
Yeah, I mean, corporate people are buying some sort of trailers and have people working for them, and it's like the opposite of what's the whole message of it is being you. I guess maybe in a way it's fair because those people are just being themselves.
Has the majority of your travel in your life been with other people or by yourself?
Majority of it, I'd say, with people, with somebody, with a friend or a wife.
Now, do you like traveling by yourself at all?
I very much so. Yeah, I find that to be you have more options when you travel by yourself. You can, meet people, new friends, and explore in a way where you're just you. If you feel like you just want to go take a shower at the hotel room and go to sleep, then you just do that. If you feel like you want to go see...
You don't have to ask anyone else what they want for dinner.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
You can just shove your face with a sandwich from somewhere.
If you were going to plan a trip right now by yourself, anywhere in the world, you have all the money you'd ever want, where would you go and for how long?
Wow. Okay, that's a big question. I would definitely go to Peru.
For how long?
Probably a month, and do some plant medicine work.
And would you go into some of the old ancient temples and things like that?
Definitely visit all the ancient temples, the pyramids. I'd love to see the pyramids.
Have you ever had to overcome any particular challenge while you're traveling?
Nothing major, but only worthy of a story. I was traveling from Argentina back to the US, and on the way back, because of weather, I had to land in Brazil. And there, they take your passport at the airport, and then you take a bus and you go to a room in the city. They keep you in a hotel on the company's budget. And so I was like, all right, whatever. And I had the guy take a photocopy of my passport and then give me the photocopy, and he kept the passport. So at least I know that I'm not going to, because, and they didn't speak English that well. And so I go to the hotel room. I go into the room after eating dinner. It was very 70s looking, lobby. It's very Lynchy, very Lynch, very David Lynch feel to it.
Like Twin Peaks?
Yes, very much so. Waiting for the little guy to come out. And so going to the bedroom, I walk into the room, close the door, check if the handle is locked. Check if the door's locked. So I pull on the handle, and the handle comes out in my hand. And now I can't open the door from the inside. Oh, it's like an old door, that. And
so you're stuck in Brazil.
I'm stuck in the
bathroom.
room. Yes, in my own room. And I was like, whatever, I'll deal with this in the morning, because it was like midnight, and I was trying to call the lobby, and they wouldn't answer, and then they would answer, but he wouldn't speak that well of an English. He would say, in the morning we have the guy that fixes maintenance guy, and I was like, all right. So I sat there and watched The Simpsons in Portuguese, because there's no English speaking channels.
How funny.
And then I have a view of the city, which was really nice. I took some photos. The issue was that I heard so much about Brazil and how dangerous it can be. Like, this one of the stories always got stuck in my mind about how this guy woke up by the ocean with a scar in his side, and then he realized they stole his kidney.
That's an urban myth.
It's an urban myth, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in the bedroom. Eventually, in the morning, they came in. They did some hammering, and the door opened up, and I was like, all right, thank you, Jesus.
And then you got your passport back and got
yes,
back.
So I went back. Yeah, that all, like, that wasn't the issue. That was
now,
like,
do you still have both of your kidneys?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So basically, this wasn't a very exciting story. Thank you for sharing, Wael.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's talk about food for a second. What's one of your favorite foods?
Hey, the go-to would be rice with meat and pine nuts on top. It's an Arabic meal. My mom made it.
What kind of meat?
Beef.
Sounds delicious, actually.
It is. It had a special, like the spices, special Middle Eastern spices.
Is this like za'atar, like that spice? Or no?
No, it's different. It's pepper. It's a pepper spice, and it's called English pepper for whatever reason. So that's one meal. The other one would be the zucchini and grape leaves wrapped. Same thing. You put rice and meat, and you just stuff the zucchini, and then you also wrap the.
Now, do you make these foods at home?
I haven't done them for a while. Now that you mention it, I think I should spend the time to show the kids.
Yeah, definitely.
It's time to move the tradition from mom to the son.
No, I think keeping those foods, especially the ethnic foods that are come from such an old place, to keep them alive and pass them on to generations and let them take new food techniques and even make them modern. I love when you go to a restaurant and they're like, well, we're traditional Mexican food, but with a Caribbean modern LA twist or whatever. Great, man, let's try it. Let's see what you did. Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah, food's great.
People have asked me like, hey, if you had one great wish for the world, would you wish for world peace or harmony in the universe? I'm like, no, I'd pretty much wish that I could eat any food ever and not get fat.
Oh. Yeah.
But then world peace.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. I'd wish for world peace first, but then lots of food.
Yeah. Well, you could do that.
Looking back on your entire life so far, your 40-some years, is there something you wish you'd known about traveling when you first started?
There is no better time than the now to travel.
Agreed.
There's no later. It's never, we always look for that time to do something, and that time never comes. That time is just now. Because there's always going to be something. There's always going to be drama. There's always going to be issues. There's always going to be financial trouble. You just got to do it.
Have you ever been traveling somewhere and you tried a new food and were completely caught off guard or surprised how much you like something you thought you weren't going to?
Yes, being in Greece at Mykonos, I've experienced gyro there for the first time, and putting the tzatziki sauce on it. That took me gave me a little rush. That made me feel good.
It's one of my all-time favorite foods.
No kidding,
For real,
bro.
I love it. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And there's a place in town I should tell you about that.
Oh,
has
is that
really
right?
Good Greek food. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Wael,
Yes, sir.
let's talk a little bit about traveling within.
We're going there.
So you teach a class. Let's talk about that for a minute.
I teach a class it's called the Healing Breath, and it's a class where you spend about an hour 15 mainly breathing in a certain rhythmic way that allows you to go inwards.
And what inspired you to create this class?
I learned how to do this through a teacher that learned it from another teacher. So this is an ongoing,
Passed down through the generations.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Okay.
it's a way, it's a tool, it's a gift to kind of allow a person to go inwards using the gift of breathing. That's what we do.
What made you become passionate about the inward journey?
Depression. It was a developing subject. I kind of had interest in esoteric experiences. I had curiosity about the nature of humankind. What are we doing here? Why are we doing what we're doing? Are we doing it right? And if we are doing it right, why is there pain and suffering? Does that mean that we're not doing it on the easiest path? And what is the easiest path?
All very good questions.
Very good. And I was listening to a podcast as well at that very day where I was like absolutely just down, depressed. And the podcast was talking about this plant medicine that people take, and it allows them to kind of get answers from the inside. Growing up in Nazareth, I had priests and Sikhs, Muslim Sikhs. I would ask a priest, well, what is the most important thing to be? And he paused and paused and paused, and his answer was, well, it's to be good. I was like, okay, it's beautiful. it's just not what I was looking for. I'm looking for the deep answer.
Have you found any answer?
I found many answers indeed.
And do you think, are the answers individual to the self, or are they more broad?
The answers are definitely individual to the self. That's one of the understandings, is that we all have our path. We all have our way. We chose to do it this way, and this is where we're going. And each of us is doing it through their own path, through listening to their own hearts. And it's a beautiful symphony of spirits dancing.
Do you believe that human beings will evolve to one day not war and get along and find a way to have an actual peaceful relationship with each other worldwide?
That's the plan. That's the plan. That's where everything's going, into this next evolution of humans. It's just an evolution after evolution. Yeah. And eventually, we will get to that place of peace and harmony, and then probably start another planet, which on it will have another species of something, and watch them go through the same process as we did.
That would be a very exciting thing to witness.
Yes, and the funny thing is that place is very witnessable today, now, through those experiences, those internal experiences.
Do you want to talk about an experience you've had?
Yes.
And let's hope this story is more exciting than Brazil.
I just gave you the finger.
I saw.
Well, there's a few, and this subject is very big.
Sure.
You could see things visually, or you can feel them, or you can hear them, and they come in different form. The language of this internal world is different than the spoken English language, because just like comparing music to math, it's different. Mm-hmm. And so my questions were very big, and I just wanted to know meaning. I wanted to know why we're here. What are we doing here? What is the meaning of everything? And so there was answers, and those answers were very clear. And to me, my truth would say that we are spirits having a human experience. In that experience, we feel pain, feel love, feel anger, and feel lull. And so the only way to experience anything is by doing it. Mm. And so we're doing the experience of the being human and experiencing it as a spirit.
So if someone out there is listening to the podcast and they think to themselves, okay, that's just spiritual hoochie-hachi nonsense, what would you say to them to simply encourage them to be open, or to open their minds and try something easy? Is that meditation, or what is something that
I would say do a meditation, yes. And those meditations could happen through something that person would like to do a lot. Like if it's running, then meditate in running. If it's biking, same thing. People just zen out doing the things that they love the most, and that's meditation. So do more of that to kind of explore the self and open up to your own heart.
And why do you think it's important for people to try some form of spiritual journey within themselves?
Because it's another world that exists. It's like imagine you're the only person in the group that could see, and you can see the things that you see, but the others in the group are all blind to it. Wouldn't you want to tell them what you see? Would that be too annoying? Would you be like, hey, Dan, would you please just stop talking about the crystals in the sky?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the person. I think some people would be like, okay, enough, dude. And some people would be like, hey, tell me more.
That's true.
How does the didgeridoo fit into all this?
Oh, the didgeridoo. I heard it once. I was at a place with my wife. It was called Elements Gathering. And the guy was there performing, and he had a didgeridoo, a large one, and he would play. And I felt it. There's something about the sound vibrations that take you into this other place.
And so you use this during your class?
I do that during the class, yes. As the students are in a state of breathing and somewhat trance, I play the didgeridoo to kind of take them even deeper, because it's when you have a sound you can trust, you can kind of surf the sound.
That's cool. I like that. I like the analogy of surfing the sound.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's kind of a way to kind of.
Well, would you like to give us 20 seconds of didgeridoo?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll pause while you break that out. While Wael is getting ready, I'm going to take this chance to promote the next episode. I go behind the scenes into Hollywood when I chat with casting director Erica Silverman Bream. She's helped cast actors for projects like House of Lies, Criminal Minds, Law and Order, and Star Trek. And we're going to dive deep into not only what the business is like from the inside, but also talk about how Hollywood has changed and evolved after the Me Too movement. It's a fascinating episode, so mark your calendars. And now, Wael is all set up, and he's going to show us an example of his didgeridoo rhythms from his breathing class. Hit it! Dude, that is awesome. And the audience probably can't hear like the reverberation and the bass and all the, I can feel all those rhythms. It's incredible. What does that instrument bring to your class? Why that particular instrument?
There is something about the sound of the vibration. It's one of the first air instruments.
So the instrument goes all the way back to Australia, correct?
Australia, yes, exactly.
How long ago?
Of more than 5,000 years, definitely. I mean, this is an old instrument, and they used to pick it up from just cut the bottom. It's a hollow tree because of the termites eat the inside, and that's how this instrument was created. They would grab maybe beeswax and shape the top of it, and you'd blow in that, and that's your air instrument. This is your body speaking.
Where was the first time you heard it?
It was at an elements gathering place up into the Sequoias, and there was a guy playing it there, and it just got this is good.
I think you play it very well. It's really cool, and it's an incredible thing. I've actually never heard it in person before, and it's really impactful. It's really neat.
It is. Thank you.
No, thank you. That was a really cool Moonbird podcast first. I'd like to ask you one more question about travel. If you were going to give one piece of advice to everybody in the world about travel, just some general, all-encompassing thing, what would it be?
This is coming from the father side of me. I grew up in Israel, and one of the best things I've learned about the Jewish culture is that they allow their children to travel after high school or after serving in the army. And I found that to be a big contributor to the advancements of Israel in terms of like just being international and learning the best of the best and creating all their technology right now is pretty advanced. And that's a part of it. I feel that we don't do this here in the U.S. I think it should be something that is highly
We encourage our children to travel more.
For at least a year, 6 months to a year, where you just travel the world, work in places, make money, little money, you don't need a lot, and find a place to stay. And just kind of learn about the world outside of the bubble that, we grew up in. And that would be one of the major things I feel, to have children or kids after graduating school go travel and party that stuff out, because they party at college anyways. Mm-hmm. Why spend so much money for partying when you can just party for cheap going around the world?
Actually, one of the things I did after graduating high school, I didn't go to college right away. And I went out into the world. I traveled a little bit, and I worked for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Then I went back to college. Mm-hmm. And when I did, I wasn't there to party. I was there to learn. Yep. And I actually ended up getting a much better education, I think, than I would have had I just gone
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So Wael, you being a very unique person in that you are of Arab descent, grew up in Nazareth, but you are also extremely well-versed in American culture, and you've been here for a couple decades and whatever. When you look at the situation in the Middle East, and I know that's not a whole podcast itself, but in general, the conflict between the religions and the difficulty in achieving peace there, having been born and raised there and then also spent time now in America, do you have any solution or idea of how people can fix that area?
I think it's happening. Right now. I mean, the age of the internet is truly changing everything. I heard this guy talk, lecture from the 70s. I forgot the guy's name, but he was saying just there was these amazing moments in history. Like the first one was when we discovered that the world was round. That was an aha moment of, oh my God. And then another one would be Einstein's theory of relativity. That was another, oh my God. And he's talking about the next, oh my God, is when the walls of privacy fall. When I can see what you're doing as you can see what I'm doing, 24/7. There is no walls. There's no need for walls anymore because I know everything about you as you will know everything about me. And this is happening with the age of technology now. As we are progressing forward, the age of technology is going to make us evolve as human, which is already beginning. And from there, it'll be biotechnology where I will read your minds and you will read my mind. And we don't even have to open our mouths, to talk, because now we have telepathy through biotechnology.
Interesting.
And so that this will move us into the next evolution of humankind. So it is happening. The good news.
Well, before we finish, a couple more closing questions. One, I like to ask everybody who comes in, what's your security blanket? What's the one thing that when you're traveling, you always take with you that you wouldn't want to travel without?
This is an interesting question because it changed. It was the Bible. I would just put the Bible in my suitcase, and it was the big one too. It wasn't the small one. And I don't know, it was just one of those things in my mind. It's like God will be there to protect me, and this is what I have to carry with me to kind of.
But now you have it as an app on your phone.
Now I have it as an app. I just press the app. And now it's changed. Now I travel with my didgeridoo. I have a collapsible didgeridoo, and I just put it in the car. I put it in the travel case. It's amazing.
For real?
Swiss made, yeah, $350, made out of fiber glass.
I'm waiting for a punchline. This is for real.
For real. There's no punchline.
That's incredible.
My didgeridoo is my security blanket.
How big is it?
It's maybe 2 feet when it's collapsed, and then it grows out to 7.
Wow. That's a very impressive didgeridoo.
She is.
Does she have a name?
Not yet. I guess Blackie.
Blackie. Is she black?
She's black.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You have to send me a picture.
I sure will.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm all about the shameless plug, my friend. So why don't you tell people who live in California here all about your class and where they can go?
Well, absolutely, I will. I teach at the Awareness Center Yoga. That's in the city of Pasadena, California here. Awareness Center. My class is at 7 p.m. on Sundays, every Sunday. And come do some breathing, come do some cleansing, come do some super cleansing. Hope to see you guys there.
Excellent. The last question is one of my favorite parts of doing the podcast. It's called 299 Philosophical and Life Questions with Moonbird. I have every guest pick 2 numbers, and then we're going to ask you those 2 questions live, and we'll go from there. So what are your 2 numbers randomly from 1 to 299?
295.
Okay, and
1.
Ooh, brave man. All right, 295 and 1. All right, we'll do 295 first. Here we go. When it comes to replacing the toilet paper roll, should the paper go over the top or under?
Over the top, definitely.
Thank you very much. You just settled a marital spat between me and Jolene. That is
glad to do so.
I could not agree with you more. Over the top, people, is the only way the toilet paper should ever go. Like I said, these are very important philosophical questions. Number 1, completely on the opposite side of things. What's your philosophy in life?
Kidding me right now? Again, my philosophy is that we all have our own paths, and that I am my best teacher as you are your best teacher. You follow your heart, you follow the dream. It's what matters.
Wise and very well said, my friend. I want to thank you so much for being here, and I hope you and Blackie have a great life together.
Thank you. You too. Thank you. An honor.
For me as well. Have a great day. If you'd like more Moonbird in your life, and hey, who wouldn't? Head on over to memoriesofamoonbird.com or visit me on social media at Memories of a Moonbird.